Welcome back to Talk Tickers, the show where we break down the most important earnings calls. Today we're diving deep into Cisco's first quarter 2025 report, and this one's a real humdinger.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this call had it all. Hyperscalers throwing money around like crazy, and Cisco posting their highest profit margins in over 20 years. It's pretty wild.
It is wild. So whether you're a hardcore tech enthusiast or an investor, or even just curious about how AI is changing things up, we've got something for you. We've gone through the entire transcript, all the reports, just to bring you the absolute need-to-know highlights.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess first things first, demand is back in a big way. Like after a whole year of companies kind of, holding back, orders for Cisco's products are going through the roof.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking a 20% jump year over year in product orders. That's not just like some pent-up demand. That's like a huge vote of confidence in the economy. And it's a sign that companies are really hungry for the kind of tech that Cisco's putting out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially the tech that supports AI. And speaking of AI, the hyperscalers, those big cloud companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they are on an absolute AI spending spree.
It's insane, right? Like they're in this race to build the biggest, baddest AI infrastructure out there.
Yeah.
And Cisco's right there reaping the rewards.
Oh, yeah, big time. We're talking over $300 million in AI-related orders just in Q1 from those hyperscalers. And get this, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Cisco's predicting they'll hit over $1 billion in AI orders from the hyperscalers this year.
Wow. $1 billion, that's with a B. So, I mean, what's fueling this massive demand from these cloud providers? What's making them spend so much?
Well, it all boils down to building, the foundation for AI. They need a ton of computing power and really efficient networking to deal with all that data AI needs.
And Cisco's stepping up to meet those demands.
Oh, yeah, big time. They've got this the secret weapon. They're custom-designed Silicon One chips. These chips are made just for AI networking, and they're giving Cisco a real edge.
So it's more than just marketing hype. Their tech actually delivers.
Oh, absolutely. The hyperscalers are snatching up those Cisco 8000 series switches, the ones powered by those Silicon One chips. And it's because they offer this incredible combo of power and efficiency. It's like getting the horsepower of a muscle car, but with the gas mileage of a hybrid,
Okay, so we got the hyperscalers going all in on AI infrastructure. But is this just a cloud story, or are other companies getting involved too?
Nah, it's definitely not just the hyperscalers. We're seeing enterprises, those big companies in all sorts of industries, they're rushing to upgrade their data centers too, upgrading the switching infrastructure, beefing up their security, the whole shebang. They're realizing that to use the power of AI, they need a solid foundation.
And Cisco's there to provide that foundation. But I mean, they're not just a hardware company anymore, right?
Yep, not at all. They're playing the whole field. Software, services, you name it. They're building a full-fledged AI ecosystem, and it's showing in their numbers some really impressive numbers.
Yeah, we're talking record-breaking numbers. Like their profit margins are higher than they've been in over 20 years. That's pretty crazy.
It's remarkable, really. They're riding this AI wave, and they're doing it in style.
So it's clear Cisco's killing it in the AI space.
Yeah.
But, something I find really interesting is that they're not just selling AI, they're using it internally too, right?
Yeah, that's right. They practice what they preach. For example, they're using AI-powered automation in their customer support center to make things more efficient.
That's smart. Use the tech you're selling to improve your own operations.
Exactly. It shows that they're fully committed to AI, not just as a product, but as a fundamental part of how they do business.
Okay, so before we get too carried away here, I think it's time for a quick reminder.
Yeah, of course. Standard disclaimer time. Everything we're talking about here is just for informational and entertainment purposes.
This is not financial advice. We're just a couple of podcast hosts kind of geeking out over an earnings call.
Exactly. Do your own research. Talk to a qualified financial advisor before you make any investment decisions,
All right, now that that's out of the way, let's get back to the fun stuff. What else caught your attention in this earnings call?
Well, there's this one detail that really stuck out to me. Remember how we were talking about companies needing to modernize their data centers? Well, it turns out that even cable companies, who have been struggling lately, they're starting to place orders again.
Oh, really? That's interesting. I would have expected them to be leading the charge on this AI and data center upgrade cycle.
Right. But it just shows you how widespread this trend is. It's not just the usual suspects. It's companies across the board realizing they need to invest in this tech if they want to stay competitive.
So even cable companies are feeling the AI pressure. That really says a lot about how transformative this technology is.
Oh, for sure. And it also speaks volumes about Cisco's ability to position themselves as the go-to provider for this crucial infrastructure.
They're becoming the picks and shovels of the AI gold rush.
Exactly. And that brings us to another interesting point from the call, Cisco's new HyperShield technology.
Okay, tell me more about this HyperShield. What is it all about?
So basically, it's a cutting-edge security solution designed for data centers. It gives advanced protection against all sorts of threats, and it's already gaining some serious traction. In fact, Cisco mentioned that one big financial institution signed a 7-figure deal for HyperShield just this quarter.
Wow, 7 figures, huh? That's a serious commitment.
It really is, and it just highlights how much emphasis companies are putting on data center security, in this age of AI and cloud computing.
Yeah, makes sense. With all this valuable data flowing through data centers, they become prime targets for hackers and cyber attacks.
Exactly. And Cisco's recognized that, and they're capitalizing on it with solutions like HyperShield. They're not just providing the infrastructure, they're making sure it's secure too.
Smart move. So to recap, we've got surging demand, hyperscalers on this AI spending spree, Cisco's custom chips giving them a real leg up, and even cable companies are joining the data center upgrade party.
And we can't forget those record-breaking profit margins. I mean, Cisco's firing on all cylinders right now.
They really are. But before we dive into what all of this means for the future of AI and the whole tech landscape, I think it's time for our favorite segment.
You mean this is not financial advice segment? I was just thinking the same thing. Let's have some fun and speculate a little.
I'm all ears. Hit me with your crazy, but maybe not so crazy trade idea based on everything we've learned from this Cisco earnings call.
Okay. Hear me out on this one. Short NVIDIA, long Cisco.
Whoa, hold on. NVIDIA. We're talking about NVIDIA, the king of GPUs, the powerhouse behind so much AI development. You're saying short them.
I know, right? Sounds a little crazy. But think about it. NVIDIA, yeah, they dominate the GPU market. Those are essential for AI training, especially the really heavy stuff. But Cisco is quietly becoming the backbone of all the AI infrastructure.
So you're thinking, as AI moves away from just training and into the real world, Cisco's networking expertise and their strength in areas like data center security, those are going to become even more valuable.
Exactly. As AI gets more widespread, companies are going to need that really robust, reliable infrastructure that Cisco's known for. That's where their networking and security expertise shines.
So you're basically betting that Cisco's role in the whole AI ecosystem is going to be even more critical down the line. They're going to be the real winners as AI matures.
Exactly. They're not just selling products; they're selling the building blocks of this AI-powered future. It's like this: NVIDIA is selling the brains, but Cisco, they're selling the central nervous system.
That's an interesting way to put it. It's definitely a contrarian play, but I got to say, it's not totally implausible. But of course, you know the drill. We have to emphasize this is purely hypothetical.
Absolutely. This is just a fun little thought experiment, just riffing off what we saw in the Cisco earnings call.
Okay, perfect. Now let's zoom out a bit. Look at the bigger picture here. What are the main takeaways for our listeners from this deep dive into Cisco's world?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Cisco is just crushing it right now. They're riding that AI wave. They've got incredible momentum, and the profits are just rolling in. They're in the right place at the right time, and their strategy seems to be working like a charm.
It's a classic story of a company recognizing a big shift in technology and then putting themselves in the perfect position to capitalize on it.
Exactly. They're not just reacting to this AI trend; they're actively shaping it. And they're doing it with a level of focus and execution that's really impressive.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that even then things are changing fast, companies with strong fundamentals and a clear vision, they can do more than survive. They can thrive.
Couldn't agree more. Cisco's a textbook example of that. They've embraced this AI revolution, and they've become a leader in the space.
Now, I know you're a bit of a detail person, so I have to ask, were there any specific areas in the earnings call that really stood out to you? Any little nuggets of information that that our listeners should be paying attention to?
Well, there are always little tidbits buried in these calls. For one, while Cisco's overall performance was stellar, they did mention some ongoing challenges in their cable business.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The cord cutting phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's still taking its toll.
Exactly. But the silver lining is that, cable is a relatively small part of their overall business. It's something to keep an eye on, but it's not a major concern right now. What's more important is their continued strength in areas like data center switching.
Right. We touched on that earlier. They've seen some amazing growth in that segment. What's driving that specifically?
A few things, actually. First, you've got the overall trend of data center modernization that we talked about. Companies need to upgrade their infrastructure to keep up with the demands of cloud computing, big data, and of course, AI.
They're essentially future-proofing their data centers.
Precisely. And Cisco is a trusted partner in that process. They've got a long history of innovation in data center networking, and they're constantly pushing the envelope with new products and solutions.
And those Silicon One chips are playing a big role in that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Those chips are specifically designed for high performance, high efficiency data center networking. And they're giving Cisco a real competitive edge.
It's like they've got the secret sauce for the modern data center.
Exactly. And they're using that secret sauce to power their Nexus series of data center switches. Those are some of the most popular, most highly regarded switches in the industry.
So Cisco's the go-to provider for companies that are building out their data centers for this whole AI era.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate assessment, and that puts them in a really strong position as the demand for data center capacity keeps skyrocketing.
Okay, so data centers check. What about security? That's another crucial area where Cisco's a big player.
Oh, absolutely. Security is a top priority for companies of all sizes these days, and Cisco has this comprehensive portfolio of security products and solutions. They cover everything from firewalls to threat detection to data loss prevention. It's a one-stop shop for all your security needs.
And they're not just selling those standalone security products. They're integrating security into their networking infrastructure, right? Right, exactly. They're building security into the fabric of the network. So it's not an afterthought or something that's just bolted on.
It makes sense. The network is often the first line of defense when it comes to those cyber attacks.
Precisely. By building security directly into the network, Cisco's making it way harder for attackers to get through those corporate defenses.
So they're not just protecting the data center, they're protecting the entire enterprise. It's a more comprehensive approach to security, and it's clearly resonating with customers.
Oh, definitely. And that demand is only going to go up as the cyber threat landscape keeps changing. It's a good time to be in cybersecurity, and Cisco is one of the best positioned companies to benefit from that growth.
Okay, so we've covered data centers, security. Anything else we should touch on before we wrap things up? Well, I think it's worth mentioning Cisco's focus on recurring revenue. They're shifting away from that traditional model of selling hardware and software licenses, and they're moving towards a subscription-based model.
Ah, yes, the subscription economy. It's everywhere you look these days.
It really is, and it makes a lot of sense for a company like Cisco. It gives them a more predictable and stable revenue stream, and it aligns their interests more closely with their customers' interests.
A win-win situation for sure.
Exactly. It's a trend we're seeing all over the tech industry, and Cisco's embracing it.
Okay. Any other key takeaways before we move on to our final thoughts and wrap things up?
One final thing that really stuck with me was Cisco's commitment to sustainability. They're making real progress in reducing their environmental impact, and promoting sustainable practices.
That's great to hear. Consumers are definitely more and more concerned about the environmental impact of the companies they support.
For sure. And Cisco is taking a proactive approach to address those concerns. They're focused on things like reducing their carbon footprint, using renewable energy sources, and designing products that are more energy efficient. It's a pretty commendable approach.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. Surging demand, the rise of AI, Cisco's strategic positioning, those impressive financials, and even their commitment to sustainability. It's been a really fascinating deep dive into Cisco's world.
Yeah, it really has. I always learn something new from these earnings calls, and this one was no exception.
Now, before we officially wrap up, I got to ask, what surprised you the most about Cisco's earnings call?
That's a good question. I think what surprised me the most was just how strong their order growth was,
Yeah.
especially after a year of so much economic uncertainty.
Yeah, I hear you. We've been hearing so much about slowdowns and cautious spending, but Cisco seems to be bucking those trends.
Totally. I was expecting to see some signs of weakness, but it seems like the demand for their products is as strong as ever. It's a testament uh, to the quality of their products, the strength of their brand, and their ability to adapt to those changing market needs.
It's clear they're not resting on their laurels. They're constantly innovating and pushing the boundaries.
Absolutely, and that's what makes them such a compelling company to watch. I'm excited to see what they do next.
Okay, we've covered a ton today, but before we sign off, I think it's time for the most important part of any Talk Tickers episode.
You mean the moment of truth? Our final thoughts for our listener.
Well, that, and of course, reminding everybody that
This is not financial advice.
you got it. Let's
Yeah.
move on to part two. All right, so lay it on me. What's this crazy but maybe not so crazy trade idea?
All right, so hear me out on this one, okay? How about we long Cisco and short the S&P 500?
Whoa, hold on. You're pitting Cisco against the entire stock market. That's pretty bold. Tell me more.
Okay, so here's the thinking. We've talked about how well Cisco is positioned for the future, right? They're riding that AI wave, they're dominating data centers, and they're seeing strong demand pretty much everywhere. Their financials are solid, and they're even making good progress on the sustainability front.
Okay, yeah, I'm following you. Cisco's looking good, but why short the S&P 500? That seems a little risky.
Well, here's the thing. While Cisco's doing great, there are some bigger economic worries out there. Inflation is still a pain, interest rates are high, and people are talking about a possible recession, right?
So you're thinking that even in the market takes a hit, Cisco with its strong fundamentals and all that growth potential, they might be able to handle it better than the average company in the S&P 500.
Exactly. Cisco is kind of like a safe haven if things get rough. They're not as affected by how much consumers are spending and their role in providing that essential infrastructure for AI and data centers. That gives them a certain level of resilience.
Yeah, it's a contrarian bet, no doubt. But given how well Cisco's doing and all that, all that macroeconomic uncertainty, it's not completely out there. But again, we have to say this is not financial advice. This is purely hypothetical, just a thought experiment.
Exactly. Don't go making any rash decisions based on this. Do your own research, talk to a financial professional, and make your own informed choices.
All right, so I think we've pretty thoroughly explored Cisco's Q1 2025 earnings call. We've hit the key takeaways, the surprising details, and even a speculative and totally hypothetical trade idea.
Yeah, we covered a lot, but remember, this is just the starting point, really. There's always more to learn, more to analyze, more to talk about.
Right. We always encourage our listeners to dig into that Cisco earnings call transcript, check out their website, and do their own research. What insights did you get from this conversation? What really stood out to you?
What questions does this raise about the future of AI, data centers, cybersecurity, and the tech industry as a whole?
Yeah, we want to hear your thoughts. Share your comments, your insights, your questions with us on our website or our social media. We always love to hear from our listeners and keep the conversation going.
And hey, who knows? Maybe your insights will spark our next "This is not financial advice" trade idea.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep tuning in to Talk Tickers.
And remember, keep those earnings calls rolling.
Okay, so it's time for the grand finale, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
Our "This is not financial advice" segment, where we take everything we've learned from this Cisco earnings call and come up with some outrageous but maybe plausible trade idea.
Gotta emphasize that disclaimer, folks. This is purely for entertainment. We're just having some fun, speculating on the markets. Don't go betting the farm based on anything we say here.
Exactly. This is more about understanding how the pieces fit together, exploring different scenarios, not about giving specific investment advice.
Right. Just trying to spark some curiosity, get you thinking about the information, maybe even inspire you to do some more research on your own.
Okay, enough disclaimers. Let's get to the fun stuff. What's your wild but maybe brilliant trade idea?
All right, buckle up. I'm going to throw a curveball here.
Yeah.
How about a pairs trade? Long Cisco, short the S&P 500.
Whoa, hold on. You're bidding Cisco against the whole stock market. That's a big one. Explain yourself.
Okay, so here's the logic. We've already talked about how well positioned Cisco is for the future. They're riding the AI wave, they're dominant in those data centers, and they're seeing strong demand across the board. Their financials are rock solid, and they're even making progress on sustainability.
Okay, yeah, I follow you. Cisco looks strong, but why short the S&P 500? That seems a little risky.
Well, think about it. Cisco's doing great, but there are some broader economic concerns out there. Inflation's sticky, interest rates are high, and there's that talk of a recession looming, right?
So you're thinking that even if the market takes a downturn, Cisco, with its strong fundamentals and all that growth potential, it might be able to, to weather the storm better than the average company in the S&P 500.
Exactly. Cisco's kind of like a safe haven. If things get a little turbulent, they're not as tied to consumer spending, and their role in providing that essential infrastructure for AI and data centers gives them a certain level of resilience.
It's definitely a contrarian bet. But given how Cisco's performing and all that, all that macroeconomic uncertainty, it's not completely crazy. But gotta say it again, this is not financial advice, purely hypothetical. Just a fun little thought experiment.
Exactly. Do your research, talk to a professional, make your own informed decisions.
All right, so I think we've really dug deep into this Cisco Q1 2025 earnings call. We've covered the key takeaways, the surprising details, and even tossed around a speculative and very hypothetical trade idea.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground, but remember, this is just the beginning. There's always more to learn, more to analyze, more to discuss, right?
Right. We always encourage our listeners to go check out the Cisco earnings call transcript, explore their website, and do their own research. What insights did you take away from this conversation? What stood out to you?
What questions does this raise about the future of, AI, data centers, cybersecurity, the whole tech industry, really?
Yeah, we want to hear from you. Share your comments, your insights, your questions with us, on our website or our social media. We'd love to hear from our listeners and keep this conversation going.
And hey, who knows? Maybe your insights will spark our next, this is not financial advice trade idea.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep tuning in to Talk Tickers.
And remember, keep those earnings calls rolling.